All right, we're gonna go ahead and get the new master cylinder for the clutch set up on the firewall while we've got it open and cleaned up. This is not it. This is the old setup, which is purely mechanical. Has this bar that pivots between this pickup point on the frame, and actually it attaches kind of over here at the engine block. The push rod comes out from the pedal here through the firewall. It touches this, and then you can see down there, there's another push rod, and it just popped out. So there's another push rod that pushes on this. Normally this would be held in place. It's not actually captured. It's just held in place by tension, by the pedal force being pressed against this. So that's all going away, and it's going to be replaced by a hydraulic unit. The release bearing is already in the other engine over there in the bell housings. That's already set up. So what we need to do is figure out how to mount this, which is the new hydraulic master cylinder. It's a Wilwood unit, so pretty standard, nice unit. It's got this adapter from American Powertrain. This plate goes on the back side of the firewall. It sandwiches the firewall here, and then it allows you some adjustment so you can line it up. And so in theory, you should just be able to pop a couple holes in, but it's not going to work that easy, of course. Here's where the original push rod came through, and basically what I'm going to need to do is get this mounted up right here. Unfortunately, this hole that's already in the firewall is so large, it's going to be really tough for me to get a couple of these bolt holes to go actually through the firewall. It's not sufficient just to clamp it. And so what I might have to do is come in here and cut this flange. There's a little flange right here. Cut this out or flatten it out, and then come back with a piece of 16 gauge or something and make a plate, a doubler, and weld it in, and then that'll allow me to kind of move this around wherever I need to. I think left and right it's pretty well lined up, and up and down it should go right about there, but it just doesn't allow me to do much. So, and then I can adjust this up and down to get it in there. A note on pedal ratio. The pedal ratio they call for is 5-to-1 to 6-to-1. Luckily, in the second gen Camaro, the pickup point is up at the top, and if you measure from the pickup point down to the actual pedal where you place your foot, that's 11 inches. And if you measure from the pickup point, the pivot point down to where this piece is going to come in, which is on the other end of this push rod, that's 2 inches. And so if you do a little maths, it's 5.5 to 1. So it's perfect. I do not need to move the pickup point. All I need to do is get this mounted on the firewall. So I'll probably go ahead and get a plate made up and get that started. Here's the hole all cleaned up and ready to go. I used a carbide burr to grind the flange off, and then I used this little handle reamer here, which just kind of works like this. You just put it in there and run around the outside, and it cleans it up, so it looks really good. On the back plate, this is the plate that goes behind. I had to cut it right here because there's a flange that comes down that stiffens this mount for where the steering column comes through. So after I got it all aligned, kind of marked it up, cut that off. That should fit right in behind there. Then I've got my plate all ready to go, cleaned up with some Scotch-Brite on the die grinder, ready to be welded in. Here's the completed weld. You see I seam welded it all the way around. And eagle-eyed viewers might have noticed I had a little bit of a gap right here and a gap right here. And that's because the firewall isn't flat. And so I tried to use the clamps to kind of get it to flush up, but you just can't get it all. So what I actually ended up doing was using a lay wire technique, at least for the first pass. So I did 2 passes. The first pass I kind of just laid the rod up there in the gap, and I didn't even sort of do the stitching motion or the weaving motion. I just laid it in there tight and kind of brought the torch across it and just melted the wire just to add some, just to close the gap a little bit. And then I came back with a second pass and actually did the dabs to close it. So that worked really well. And what we got here is a nice polite bead. I used the 16th rod instead of something larger, even though it would have allowed me to probably close those gaps with one pass, because I wanted the weld to stay below, must be a ghost. I wanted the weld to stay below the edge of this plate. And for the most part it did. It got a little proud here, so I went back and just cleaned it up. But now we'll go ahead and put the holes in for the plate. Let's make sure it still lines up. All right, we got the plate in place using the lineup lines that I scribed earlier, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just take this is a transfer punch set, so it's got basically punches of all different sizes. Find the right one, fits the hole. This one fits right in there real nice. That keeps it all aligned, so you don't have to worry about misalignment, and then you just give it a whack. All right, and it leaves no question about where to drill the holes. And here's the completed plate. 4 mount holes. This hole right here, which I enlarged with the carbide burr on the die grinder. And here it is in place, approximately at the right angle. So should work pretty well. We'll see.